Hello, this is our presentation on reading contests by Desiree, Maya, and Fiona.
Reading is a skill and practice that we as teachers strive to instill in our students. As stated in the BC Performance Standards for Reading, we recognize how reading is central to success in school and in life. Through reading, people access the ideas, information, and experiences that help them to understand themselves and their world. People read to experience enjoyment and personal satisfaction, and to learn and work more effectively. With these benefits in mind, educators seek strategies to incorporate literacy into their daily routines, and furthermore, instill an innate love for reading within their students. Reading contests are one strategy that teachers use to encourage and promote reading to their students. Our chosen scenario is that we are a community surrounded by outdoor activities, and our school district is experiencing low literacy skills from our students. An aspect of the district goal for the upcoming year is to increase student interaction with reading choices and reignite a love for reading. The school librarians want to promote literacy at their schools where many students lack key literacy skills and have a low desire to read for pleasure. The community is surrounded by outdoor activities and places a high emphasis on sports. So during our presentation, we will provide a list of pros and cons for reading contests, as well as a few examples. Within our examples, we will speak to how these contests may help improve a love for reading for the students in our scenario district. While we are doing our presentation, we have a few questions that we'd like for you to think about that we will ask you to answer at the end of the presentation. So, have you organized a reading contest, and were you successful in promoting literacy with this contest? What are some examples of ways to encourage student reading? And how can one judge the effectiveness of a reading contest? So think about these during our presentation. I will now pass it over to Fiona, who will share some pros and cons.
So some of the pros, students are often competitive and motivated through competition. Many students are extrinsically motivated and therefore would benefit from reading challenges and small incentives. Reading challenges can come in many different forms. In an elementary setting, external motivators aren't usually negatively associated with reading competence. If that's the case, reading contests may be better suited for elementary. Some of the pros that we found: reading contests would be considered an extrinsic motivator. External motivators are not correlated with reading achievement. Competition may turn some students off and reading for reasons of fear, falling behind, low reading ability, or esteem in reading. When reading goals are not met, students may develop anger and frustration towards reading. Some students have expressed that they would rather read other books but don't have the time. In secondary schools, the external reasons for reading become negatively related to achievement. Des will now introduce you to our first reading contest example.
So our first contest example is a group challenge where a class or group of students work collaboratively to achieve a collective reading goal. It's a reading challenge that is suitable for all grades. We explored reading challenges that also incorporated individual reading goals within the group reading challenge. This aspect allows for differentiation, individualized goals, and various reading abilities. An emphasis is placed on working together to achieve the collective reading goal. This aspect may appeal to our scenario district in the sense that they are sport-oriented and therefore goal and teamwork driven. Within this example, students are not singled out for reading less than their peers. All students are able to contribute to the group goal, no matter how much or little they read. Therefore, goals can be differentiated and individualized. Book choices are left up to the students, so they are given autonomy over what they read and they have control over the creation of their reading goal. The overall goal of this reading challenge is to immerse students in books and increase their reading total. McRae and Guthrie suggest that when choice and collaboration are incorporated into classroom practices, motivation is enhanced. This contest incorporates both of these aspects. It also builds camaraderie with its group mentality and helps build school community, particularly if it's a contest offered through the library and all students are invited to contribute. Next, Maya will introduce 2 reading contest examples that may connect with students in our scenario district.
So the first reading contest that I'm going to be talking about is called the Battle of the Books. This contest is open to students in grade 3 to 12, and the book lists are created by America's Battle of the Books, or they can be curated independently by a teacher librarian or a teacher. The students read the books during the year, and at the end of the year, teams are formed, and there's a trivia style kind of competition based on the that they have read throughout the year. So we have an example of a reading contest that was done in West Vancouver that was called the Reading Link Challenge, but it was based on the Battle of the Book style competition. And this was involving intermediate students in grade 4 and 5 who voluntarily participated. The West Vancouver Memorial Library collaborated with the West Van School District to implement this competition. And the teacher librarians at the school selected 6 books that the students were going to read, and the challenge was held within the school before going to a district reading link challenge where schools were to compete against one another. So when students went to the district challenge and as well as their school challenges, there was a quiz master who asked questions about the 6 books, and points were awarded for correctly answered questions within a 30-second time frame. So some of the pros and cons of the Battle of the Books contest. Some of the pros are that it fosters camaraderie and a sense of belonging and teamwork amongst students. Students are exposed to books they would not have read on their own. They are provided with the opportunity to compete if they don't qualify for athletic teams, which kind of ties into the scenario in our district because they're quite focused on outdoor activities. And the librarian can connect to students that participate, as well as the books students must read are typically available in audio format, so it makes it a little more accessible. Some of the cons for this contest are that struggling readers might not be able to participate. Because this contest is voluntary, it would probably entice the keen readers. The competition itself is based on rapid recall of matching book titles and authors to facts in the books. The competition is only in English, which excludes some ELL learners. And some of the questions lack depth of knowledge or critical thinking skills. There is quite a bit of a time commitment, so this could be hard to get staff and students involved, as well as the books. If there's not a sponsor to provide the books, sometimes teacher librarians would have to use their budget to purchase the books. So the next competition I'm going to be talking about is the New York Times Summer Reading Contest. This is open to middle and high school students, and so students are asked to read, watch, or listen to any material on the New York Times website within the last year. So this could be podcasts, photos, essays, or videos. It's all nonfiction. Each week, the New York Times will post a question or a prompt that says, what got your attention in the Times this week and why? So students will respond to this question, and the response must be less than 1,500 words. And the work is judged by New York Times journalists, the Learning Network staff, and educators. The prize for the week is having their writing published on the Learning Network and being celebrated on Twitter and Facebook. So this contest is great because it gets students to engage with current events and seek out accurate information, make connections to what they're reading, and formulate opinions on the real world. It allows for student choice on what type of material they choose to consume. And the Learning Network enhances student writing with guides, tips, and writing examples, as well as this contest meets the recommendations for leisure reading created by the International Reading Association, the National Council of Teachers of English, and the Canadian Children's Book Centre. I will now pass it on to Fiona, who will talk about another contest.
So the extreme reading was a contest that I found online, and it seems to be quite popular. It's really just about fostering a love for reading during the summer. And the challenge asks students to take pictures reading in really cool places, as you can see in the pictures that I've posted. Um, One of them is one reading on a surfboard. Um, so students can become really creative with this challenge, and especially in our district, it can incorporate their love for the outdoors within it. Now I'll pass you on to Maya to introduce your activity.
So, at the beginning of this presentation, we asked you to think about the 3 questions. And what we'd like you to do is to answer the question, what are your thoughts on reading contests? As well as choose one of the 3 questions to respond to. And on the thread, there are 3 different topics, and we would really appreciate if you could post your response to the thread associated with each question. So thank you very much for watching our presentation.
And that's our presentation.